Hi, I know it's been a while since I made any new videos. Most of the time was spent in building SaaS applications. So now that I have built multiple SaaS applications, I have a lot of interesting topics to make videos on. If you're new here, I'm Shri. I'm a software engineer. I make videos on things I learn, mostly AI based SaaS applications, travel, fitness, and anything I'm fascinated by. So, in today's video, I'm going to talk about the things I learned from building a RAG based SaaS application. By RAG, I mean retrieval augmented generation based SaaS applications. If you are someone who is trying to build a RAG based SaaS application on a serverless platform, this video is for you. You can learn from my experiences and avoid some of the mistakes. So, when I first heard about RAG, I wanted to get my hands dirty and build it myself. So because there were like so many steps in the process, you had chunking, that is breaking down documents into smaller chunks, and then you had converting these chunks into embedding, and then you have this cosine similarity search. So there were so many components, and you had flexibility in making changes in each of those components. For example, you could play with how you would change chunking for different kinds of documents so that your retrieval is always superior than other RAG systems out there. So so there are basically like so many components you could tweak, and that got me interested in building a RAG application. And at the same during this time, Supabase dropped the video of building a production ready RAG. I wouldn't, knowing what I know now, I wouldn't call that production ready. Maybe for a very a small set of cases, it is production ready, but it is still a pretty good video where you can learn different stages and different components and how they all connect together, and how the authorization and how the everything works together. It is still a great video, but I wouldn't call it production ready. But when I first watched it, I was like, okay, why are they giving it away? Like, people can build a lot of solutions. So that was the point, so that people would use the Supabase platform and launch similar projects. That's how the idea of building a RAG application started for me. I'll show you the video here. It's titled "The Missing Pieces to Your AI App."
How do you build a production-ready AI app using PG Vector? There are lots of tutorials out there on vector databases, generated embeddings, even retrieval-augmented generation. But how do you put these things together into a production application? How do you know what's good practice or bad practice, and how do you put it together quickly? We still need authentication, REST API.
So this was the video which started the whole thing for me. A huge thank to Greg. He has a way of teaching things without making it feel very overwhelming, and he breaks down the whole process. So during Thanksgiving break, I watched this whole video and decided to follow the same steps, and I built my first SaaS application on Supabase. Without this particular tutorial from Supabase, it would have taken me a much longer to put out a SaaS product out there. I'll tell you what Supabase workshop did really well. It gives you a clear understanding of what goes on behind the scenes, how you upload a markdown document, how you break them down into different chunks, how you convert those chunks into embeddings, and how you set up cosine similarity to do the similarity search and handle the retrieval portion of that. So it helps you understand all these steps thoroughly. So I recommend everyone, so highly recommend watching Greg's video to learn about what happens behind the scenes in a RAG based SaaS application. So one big limitation with the Supabase template was it only had support for markdown files. But if you're building a chat with your files SaaS product, you need to add support for PDFs. Without PDFs, your application is, I wouldn't say it is that useful. So my next challenge was figuring out how to extend the template and add PDF support. So that's where most of my learnings came from. How to support, how to add a parsing for PDFs, how to handle chunking, and how to manage costs and latency. And in the end, I'm glad I did it because that helped me learn a lot more. It wasn't just plug and play, but I'm glad I did it because these gave me a really good understanding of how RAG applications are built under the hood. So Greg's video shows how to build a RAG application which supports Markdown files. One thing it was missing is it does not show how to add support for PDF files. So the whole stack is it uses Dino based edge functions, which is in TypeScript. So I decided to add support for PDF. So the first thing I tried was, were there any Dino TypeScript libraries which handled PDF parsing? And if there was, then I could parse the uploaded PDF, convert them into chunks, and then convert them to embeddings the same way Greg shows for Markdown documents. So I couldn't find anything that performed really well. So I didn't go with the TypeScript route. So another thing I learned is parsing PDF is not that straightforward. I felt like there was no one TypeScript library which handled all kinds of PDF. Remember, PDF contains images, it can contain tables, it can contain graphics, and all those stuff. So I couldn't find one go-to TypeScript PDF parser library that could work on the Dino to handle PDF parsing. So the next solution I approached was there any managed solution where I could send the whole document to that API, and in return it would return the markdown version of it. So Azure had an API which took PDF as an input, and it returned Markdown as the output. So instead to add PDF support, what I did was I integrated with that API in the backend, and that would return the document, a PDF document in the Markdown format. And with that it worked well. I had added support for PDF document, but it didn't work for a lot of situations. For example, if the PDF document was a little bit heavy, say more than 5 MB, or if it had a lot of images, then the API didn't work that properly and reliably. The whole thing, it felt like uh, it was held together by a duct tape. So that was my experience of adding PDF parsing feature on top of what I had built using Greg's video. So the takeaway is, you will, if you're building a RAG based application, you will have to figure out a way to allow PDFs of decent size, and your PDF parsing game should be pretty solid. This whole thing worked well for documents which were of small size. But if your SaaS application only works for small documents, it is not that useful. At the minimum, people should be able to upload SEC files, like, for example, quarterly reports of public companies, and they should be able to ask questions on that particular report. And these PDF files are pretty heavy. Some of them are more than 50 MB, and some of them are more than 20 MB. So I think your SaaS application should at least allow PDFs of size 20 MB to be somewhat considered to be useful. So with my setup and experience at that time, this whole stack could not support that kind of PDFs. This whole stack was built on Supabase. Supabase storage, Supabase Supabase offers 1 GB of storage for the free plan. So if you're planning to build a RAG based SaaS application for your users, this 1 GB of storage space might not be sufficient. You either have to upgrade to a paid project. I am not familiar how much space you're going to get there. I don't think it is. You know, I don't think you're getting a lot of space even if you upgrade. So if I were to build this project all over again, I would probably use Cloudflare R2 or Amazon S3 because the free tier because the free tier offered by Cloudflare is much higher than Supabase. So you would upload your documents there and then have an async process where it reads the uploaded document and converts that into chunks, and then converts the chunks into embeddings, and then stores it in your database. So what you need is an async workflow for your RAG SaaS application. So one of the issues I ran into was if your document was big, or if the chunking size of, or if each chunk size was pretty big. I used to run into this CPU time limit reached issue. This was because the inference was run on the edge runtime, and that was causing the CPU time limit to exceed. So my fix was, so instead of running the inference in the embedding edge runtime, so I made an API call to OpenAI and let OpenAI handle the inference for converting the sections or chunks into embeddings. So that I got around that issue. Um, uh, so I got around the CPU time limit issue with this workaround, but it still felt like the whole thing was held together by a glue tape, and depending on what how the customer interacted, things could break. So then I decided, if I'm going to build a RAG application in other projects, I would go for the managed applications or managed frameworks. For example, OpenAI's Assistant framework, which will handle chunking, embedding, and retrieval, and it performs pretty decently. So unless there was a use case where I had to do all these steps myself, and that would give me a better advantage, I don't necessarily have to deal with that problem if I'm building a SaaS application for a general purpose use case. So these were some of the things I learned while building SaaS applications on serverless platform. So here are the key lessons from my experience. If this is your first SaaS project, don't pick building a RAG application from the scratch as your first SaaS application. My second lesson is, if you are dead set on building a RAG a SaaS application, use managed services. For example, instead of figuring out individual steps of RAG, that is chunking, embedding, and cosine similarity query and everything, you can use OpenAI Assistance framework, which will handle all of this for you, and that can make the RAG portion simpler. So far, I have noticed that OpenAI's Assistant framework offers a pretty decent general purpose RAG solution for your application. I would go with that. In fact, for my future projects, I just went with OpenAI Assistance Framework. At the time Assistance API or framework had launched, the pricing was too expensive. Now with the V2, the pricing is a lot cheaper, and I find that is, if I were to build a general purpose RAG solution, quickly, I would go and implement OpenAI Assistance Framework. It will take care of chunking, embedding, and retrieval, and it does a pretty decent job. If you're dead set on building all these chunking, embedding, all these, you want to handle, you want to control all these phases, just know that PDF parsing might not be straightforward. You will have to test it with PDFs of different sizes, PDFs with different content. For example, consider a resume PDF or a quarterly report earnings PDF, and make sure that it performs well for wide range of PDFs your customers might use. The next one is figuring out your async workflows. So if you are building a RAG application, you need to have a clear idea of how the workflows are structured. Say, for example, your customer uploads a pretty big PDF file. What does the experience look like from their point of view? For example, you would have to figure out to do all the chunking, embedding, and async, because it can take quite a time. You won't be able to finish all of that for all the files in a sync workflow. You have to figure out what technologies you're going to use to have an async workflow that can support bigger documents. For example, if you're building it on top of a Cloudflare, you can use a Cloudflare queues to make it async and have a way to get a notification to see if the all the backend processes are complete before you can start a retrieval queries on it. Or, for example, if you use OpenAI's assistant framework, you will know that if the vector stores are ready before you can start processing queries that involve that vector store. So those were my key takeaways from building a RAG a SaaS application on a serverless architecture. Let me end this on a high note. Building this SaaS application taught me a lot of different things: front end, full stack, back end, auth, payments, and learning by doing is much more interesting than listening to a lecture for several hours, including this YouTube video. So on top of all of that, receiving the payment from a random customer for the very first time, that is a high of its own kind. So I put out a pricing of $1.99 for someone to try this product. I think that was the first payment I've ever received for my own SaaS application, and that feeling was like pretty good. And I wrote a tweet about it, and that unexpectedly went viral, and that was an experience I'll remember for a very long time. And on top of that, now you have this ability of putting out a full stack application all by yourself, and that is very empowering. It feels like you can convert the ideas into a product, all by you can the feeling of you can convert the ideas into your head into a product. It's very good feeling. It's very empowering. You feel invincible. So in the past, that was very hard to do. You had to know everything about everything. You had to have a front end engineer. You had to have you need to know a lot more. But now things are becoming so much more easy to launch your own SaaS product. Now there are tools like Vercel V0. Now there are tools like Vercel V0. You can that can help you with UI if you're a backend engineer. Or there are so many tools that will help you wipe code into a working product, which you can polish it over time. And it's very easy to get a SaaS product of your own up and running. All you need is a drive and some agency. So the cost to run a SaaS product is pretty nominal, but the returns are pretty huge. So think about it this way. Let's say you have an idea for a product, and now it is easier than ever to write an application and an app or an iPhone app or a web application, and throw it into the universe and see how the universe reacts to it. Anyone anywhere can try out your product, and if it is useful, it can scale really well, and you don't have to do a lot compared to what you had to do in the past for your application to scale. Um, that feeling of okay converting an idea in your head into a product, I don't think a lot of people were able to do in the past, and now it is possible. And I hope a lot of folks, engineers especially, can take advantage of all these tools to put such products out there. I hope this video has been useful. If you like this video, subscribe for more such videos. If you have built a SaaS product, and if you want to share your experience, drop it in the comments. I'll see you in my next video. Thank you.